Hello, my name is Andrew Horvath, and I'm honoured to be the Global Group Chairman of Star Scientific Limited. Thank you for the opportunity to address this important conference. Star Scientific Limited is a private research and development company north of Sydney, Australia, and south of the industrial port of Newcastle. For 25 years, Star Scientific has been researching the renewable energy field, principally in muon catalyzed fusion. About 5 years ago, our lead scientists Steve Heaton and Sam Kirk made a breakthrough discovery. As part of our materials development, we found we had produced a catalyst that, when hydrogen and oxygen are introduced to it, produces high amounts of heat rapidly. There is no combustion, therefore no greenhouse gases. And the only other output is pure water. In a controlled environment, we reach 700 degrees Celsius in just over 3 minutes. The key difference between our catalyst, which we have called the Hydrogen Energy Release Optimizer, or HERO, and other catalysts, is that HERO is a true catalyst. This means it is not used in the process, and therefore does not degrade over time. Once the gases are removed from the process, the catalyst reverts to its inert state and can be used again. HERO has been independently verified by the head of the School of Chemistry at the University of Newcastle. It has won a number of international awards, the latest being at the South by Southwest Festival in the United States. The other important point in consideration is that HERO is unique and is patented globally. As the world starts to shift the emphasis of its attention from the supply side of hydrogen to how best to use it, they're finding a big hurdle, a missing piece of the puzzle that is the hydrogen supply chain. They are finding the technical limitations of fuel cells and combustion systems and are asking, how do we use hydrogen at an industrial scale? And increasingly, they're finding the answer to that question is HERO. At our facility in Sydney, we've built a unique heat exchanger, one that's producing energy-saturated steam in one pass. Our heat exchanger works conductively, with the catalyst passing heat to the working medium. This active side heat exchanger can also be used for waters, oils, airs, other gases. We are currently in the process of scaling up a heat exchanger to serve several pilot projects we're engaged in. The first of such projects is for Mars Foods Australia. It's a strong indicator of where we at Star Scientific think the early opportunities lie for hydrogen. In our view, too much debate is centred on heavy industrial applications such as green steel. While these applications are important, they'll be some time away. There's a long research and development path ahead and significant engineering challenges, not only to mention the need to generate the massive supply of green hydrogen required for these energy-intensive applications. As Star Scientific, we believe there are many other less intensive applications that can be brought to market sooner. The food industry is the best example. This sector requires process heat 24 hours a day. Typically, these applications involve steam or hot water for cooking and sanitation, but can also involve heat for drying, baking and packaging. In agriculture and horticulture, heat is required for intensive farming and growing activities, such as dairies and greenhouses. The range of heat requirements is typically from 100 degrees Celsius through to 350 degrees Celsius. Without exception, the food companies that have approached us from all around the world have two major problems they need to address. The first is the embedded carbon intensity of their products. Food companies are becoming alarmed about the potential of consumer boycotts of heavily carbon dioxide embedded products. Whether it's the individual consumer like you and I exercising an individual choice, or retailers such as supermarket chains exerting supply chain pressures to drive carbon down. The food sector knows it has to act. The smartest companies, such as Mars, are getting ahead of this curve now. The second is cost. Most of these applications require gas for consumption. Recent global gas price hikes have increased the urgency of inquiries to Star Scientific. With global energy costs spiralling, the cost of clean hydrogen production coming down, suddenly clean hydrogen is getting close to competitive parity with gas. Rapid advances in electrolysis technology are helping to drive the price of green hydrogen down. as is constructive government intervention, such as the United States government measure to provide a $3 per kilogram tax credit for carbon-free hydrogen. Star Scientific is very lucky that where we are based north of Sydney is in the middle of a food manufacturing hub. We have globally recognised brands as our neighbours. And so when Mars came to ask if they could be our very first pilot, of course we said yes. We are therefore currently deep into a development project to provide them with carbon-free heat for boiling water and steam. So at Star Scientific, we're very confident that process heat for the food sector will be an early adopter of hydrogen for the industrial process. If you add in our capacity to make green ammonia for fertiliser, the ability of our heat to be used for waste treatment, then the whole food supply chain could be made greenhouse gas free. Of course, there are many other industrial applications requiring process heat: pulp and paper, cement, desalination, wastewater treatment, but to name a few. We'd now like to turn to the area of energy and the role that HERO can play in the energy transition. At Star Scientific, we break down the energy challenge into two main divisions. The first is the retrofitting of existing fossil fuel power infrastructure, where the working medium is steam. The second is standalone off-grid energy systems that may have several working mediums, the principal of which we believe will be the supercritical CO2 turbine. I'd like to turn to the grid-connected subset first. Some would argue that this is the most urgent, as the world is facing up to the reality of $4 trillion of potentially stranded assets. There is the strong prospect that they will be retired before renewable sources are available to replace them on a watt-for-watt basis. At Star Scientific, we believe there's nothing wrong with a coal-fired power station per se. Indeed, because of their vast sunk capital costs and their connectivity to billions of people, we believe it's essential, if possible, that their vast capacity to generate energy should be retained. The problem is the fuel. Too many people, particularly in the West, want to eradicate the whole plant. Our thinking at Star Scientific separates the generation infrastructure from the fuel. If an alternate non-polluting fuel can be retrofitted, this generation infrastructure, then why would we not do that? Enter hydrogen and HERO. Theoretically, it is possible to retrofit these important pieces of energy to the clean hydrogen by using HERO, and therefore avoiding all the complexities, wastes and costs of combusting hydrogen. As I said earlier, Star Scientific is already generating supersaturated steam from hydrogen without burning it. Our consulting engineers have already studied a major Australian power station and report that retrofitting to hydrogen via HERO is perfectly feasible and will lead to significant capital and recurrence savings for the owners. Now, I say theoretically, of course, because one of the great challenges is the amount of clean hydrogen that will be required to power these large fixed pieces of infrastructure. We have a long way to go before we can produce volumes of hydrogen at that level. However, with the cost and efficiency of electrolysis moving rapidly, we remain confident that it's achievable in the medium term. The second area of energy we're developing is for off-grid purposes. Over 1 billion people globally do not have access to grid-derived electricity, and many more are served by imperfect grids. This may be because they're living in economically developing countries or for the simple reason of geography. Whether it be outback Australia, the Himalayas, or the islands of the South Pacific, the islands of Indonesia, or the Philippines, remote communities are looking for renewable, clean replacements for diesel fuel. A lot of industrial users are looking for off-grid renewable energy solutions as well. Data centres are looking for constant high levels of renewable energy across a 24/7, 365-day cycle. Variable renewables, batteries, fuel cells, and hydrogen combustion engines simply cannot meet the net scale they require. We believe that the future energy needs of these businesses and communities can be met by the closed-looped version of supercritical CO2 turbines. When heated to 700 to 800 degrees Celsius, CO2 stores a phenomenal amount of energy that can be used to turn a turbine. The critical difference is that supercritical CO2 turbines can be up to a tenth of the size of the equivalent steam turbine and are therefore highly deployable. The 700 to 800 degree range is perfect for Hero, and we're currently in discussion with a range of turbine manufacturers to develop a purpose-built system heated by Hero. This again is where Star Scientific departs from orthodox thinking. The orthodox view about how to produce energy from hydrogen is to burn it in so-called hydrogen turbines. The reality is that for the foreseeable future, because of the engineering difficulties of burning hydrogen, these turbines will involve a small amount of hydrogen blended with natural gas, and therefore greenhouse gases will still be produced. We believe that the generation of energy via hydrogen can be better achieved by the use of supercritical CO2 turbines mated to a Hero heat source. These turbines are proven, they do exist, and a closed loop version will be the greenhouse gas free, when they are heated by hydrogen via a Hero system. At Star Scientific, we therefore see a very bright future for clean hydrogen as harnessed by Hero, for both process heat, for industry and for energy. We also see a bright future for our company in India. I'd like to pay tribute to the far-sighted vision of the government and President Modi for the future of clean green hydrogen, and I look forward to working with the government and the Indian business community as a whole. Thank you for your time.